Welcome back to the DeLorean 5510 restoration project. As you can see, the car is on wheels. I am super excited about that. It's also a little bit cleaner in the area. You can see I don't have a lot of junk in the way. And that is because I'm getting ready to roll this guy out into the driveway so that I can put the body on. That is going to happen tomorrow. So yeah, that's exciting. So let's go over some of the things that I've done in the last week. So the first thing is I've done a bunch of changes to the cooling system. I don't want to dig under the car at the moment, but yeah, so that bracket that's under there, that sits about right there, that is now in place and holding the cooling pipes. I've also installed the front bleeder system right here. So this is from DeLorean Parts Northwest, and so that is the bleeder system. So the idea is normally there's a self bleeder, which is the same thing that you see here, except not this, set of thing in the middle. And it's supposed to self bleed so that it bubbles the air from the radiator, which is a high point, into your main cooling return line. And it just sort of notoriously doesn't work very well, and so this is a way to bleed the air there. And the reason I did it now is because obviously I need to fill the cooling system, and so that will be helpful, hopefully. Let's move into the back here. So we've got the transmission cooler right there. So it's the pipe that was previously black and now has that heat sink fin stuff on it. So it's all crushed in from years of abuse. I don't know how long it had been on the car, but I put that back on, and so that's in place. And the tubes that come off of there and go to the transmission are now in place. Then over on this side, that is where the Otterstat lives. You can see that there's a connector. Yeah, I can't quite actually see the Otterstat. Oh, maybe. Well, you might be able to see that. But yeah, that's that little thing on the underside of that pipe. That Otterstat controls, basically it's so the engine knows the temperature of the coolant system. And then the last component to all this was that I did a pressure check of the cooling system. So basically, I initially did a vacuum. So I pulled vacuum right here, and I found that it was not holding vacuum, not at all. And so I then got a pressurized system, and so I fed pressure into this line with a series of little doodads, and then pressurized the system, and then I was able to go around and squirt soapy water and sea bubbles and stuff. And so basically I found like 3 or 4 leaks that were all like this line here, this one, and then this one, I think. So like all these ones that I did all at once, I just hadn't snugged them up tightly enough. And so as soon as I got those, the system holds pressure fantastically. I pulled a vacuum on it, set it to 15 psi, and for like an hour and a half, it didn't lose anything. So that's fantastic. I'm happy that is all taken care of. So cooling system is entirely done at this point. So now let's move over to the exhaust. So when we left off last week, I had the cooling crossover pipe right there. And so now I've got let's see if I can get under here. Well, you can kind of see that there's the wrapped thing under there. And so that's the catalytic converter, which has been hollowed out, so it's not actually a catalytic converter, but, it's there. And then the exhaust system is now in place, along with that heat shield, that aluminum heat shield that's there in the middle. So the exhaust system is now done entirely, so fantastic. Up front, let's see here. Yeah, so horns. The horns are in place there and over there. I'm not sure if I actually installed those correctly, but it seems like that's how they should be set up. It's the only way that I could actually get them to go on there, based on the brackets that were there. So, yeah, we'll see. Oh, trailing arm support bracket. So I was saying like last week that I didn't have these, and I didn't. So I finally ordered these from someplace else and got them in. So those are now there. And the only piece that's actually left is this support bracket right here that holds the coilover, the QA1 coilovers, to that mount. And for now, I've just wrapped it with some wire just to kind of hold that into place so it doesn't flop all over the place. There's no way I will drive like that, of course. But, you know, hopefully, I believe that that will be arriving on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I'll be able to put that little bracket in place, and then we'll be good to go. I also put some of these little foam stuff right here. And the original frame had some foam stuff here, and then I noticed some other people were putting it here, so I decided I would just go ahead and put it in both of these locations. I believe it's there only on this side because the ground, like the main frame ground, is right here, and so I think it just prevents the ground wire and the positive wire, because it's straight from the battery, from chafing on this area or something like that. But that's there. Let's see. Oh, brakes. So I pressure tested the brake system. So I did similar to the cooling system. I pulled vacuum, and that was okay. I also pressurized the system. On the front, I was able to find a small leak on right there where the flexible brake line attaches to the hard line before the caliper. There was a tiny leak there, and I fixed that up. Just needed to be tightened a little bit, and then all was well. There were no leaks on the back of the brakes, so that's fantastic. It's not a super representative test, I will say, because the amount of pressure in your brakes is like 1,000 PSI, so just pushing some air is not super representative, but it's good enough. So we'll see what happens there once I actually get the master cylinder connected to it and test it out that way, and bleed the brakes and all that. Then last is the fuel system. So up front, there's this evap hose that's now in place, which is this guy here. So that's in place, and this connects up to the filler neck, so I put this back in place here, so that way when I've put the filler neck, it'll pretty much go like right there, is the idea. And then back here, I got this fancy braided cable or line for the fuel right there, and that connects up to the fuel filter. I think I had shown that before, but it wasn't tightened down, and so it's been tightened down now, and I was able to pressure test the fuel system. So I basically jump-started the fuel pump right there, and after I did that, there was a bit of a snafu because I had these two lines swapped right here. So I took the feed line and was pushing that into the fuel return line accidentally. Whoops. But then again, it's kind of an easy mistake to make if you don't know what you're doing like me. so yeah. So I was basically backfeeding the whole system with fuel pressure, and it wasn't returning. And of course it wasn't returning because this line here is like, it has to come out, and like there's probably stuff in the engines that's kind of like a one-way valve there. So yeah, that didn't work at all. As soon as I swapped them around though, everything started working correctly, and I only had one tiny little leak, and it came out of the fuel accumulator, of course. It was stuffed up inside of there, so where the fuel accumulator has like a 90-degree elbow that kicks off to the side and then comes out here. This is like your main fuel line. When it was doing that, it just wasn't quite tight enough, basically. And so it's a very awkward place to get to, so it doesn't surprise me that I had not really got it as tight as it needed to be. So did that, torqued it down a little bit, gave it another pressure test, let it run for about 30 seconds. No fuel came out of any of these things, and fuel was coming out of the return line there. So yeah, there's now about 3 gallons of gas or so in there, which is enough for me to start it up and test it and get to the gas station once I'm to that point. So yeah, I am outrageously excited. Assuming all goes well tomorrow, the plan is basically to, oh yeah, actually let me do something else. Because this is actually on four wheels here. So I can grab the car and I can, I can hit all the things in the garage. But yeah, like I can roll this with one hand. It feels so much better than it did before. Before, I think this wheel here, you couldn't turn it. Like by hand, you could not turn it. And so now I can just like, it's a breeze to turn. I am in neutral, by the way. Also, pretty sure this will work. It was working last time I tested it, where if you put it in park, yeah, look at that. I can't turn it anymore. Like, it just doesn't go. Oh, so, yeah. So, shifting is working. Yeah. Oh, so, anyway, I'm super excited. Yeah, so I think I was in the middle of saying what I'm going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, take this, roll it out into the driveway. The body of the DeLorean, it's actually on this cool little dolly that I made. And so that I will just pull it this way about, I don't know, 3 feet or so, just because I need more room on that side. Reposition myself so you can see everything. So yeah, I'll pull the car over here. Then the car is going to get jacked up on blocks. And basically, the body of the car needs to be this tall because it needs to clear the radiator. And the radiator is pretty much the tallest thing. I think it's taller than this. Anyway, maybe this is actually slightly taller, those little posts. But yeah, so I need to jack up the car that high, and then once it's that high off the ground, rearrange the blocks a little bit, and then roll the frame right under it, and then drop the body. So that's going to happen tomorrow, assuming nothing crazy happens. And when that does happen tomorrow, I don't know that I'll be able to actually hook anything up, because it's actually super exhausting to do that by hand. But we'll see. Hopefully I can get, like, maybe the steering working. If I can get the electrical stuff for the engine plugged in and maybe give the engine, like, a first test to see if it'll start. Oh, man. I'm kind of dreading that, but also it's very exciting. So, yeah, that's the update for today. Normally I do these videos on Sunday. Today's Saturday, so I'm a bit ahead of, you know, the normal schedule here, but that's because tomorrow is going to be a big day. So yeah, so I will see you tomorrow once this body is back on the frame. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.